In 1988, they have well over 500,000 members and supporters. And through their films, like you saw in the lunch hour, their op-eds, their policy papers, newsletters, grassroots organizing, Citizens United seeks to reassert the traditional American values of limited government, freedom of enterprise, strong family, and national sovereignty and security. However, when I first got to know David VID000, and it was in the Gift of Life right during the 2012 caucuses. And we showed the Gift of Life to a lot of our supporters, and Governor Perry happened to be one of the speakers there. And Governor Perry was so moved by that movie that Citizens United produced, The Gift of Life, that he changed his view on pro-life. And he said, you know, no longer am I for any exceptions. Every life has value from conception to natural death. And we saw now in the state of Texas that the pro-life battle was right there at the key and at the center. Because of that film and because of Governor Perry's change of heart. That is what supporting an organization like Citizens United or other national partners or the family leader can do of letting your voice be heard. Please welcome my good friend David VID000 to the platform from Citizens United. David.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate that. It's really great to be here again at the Family Leadership Summit. First, I want to thank Bob Vanderplatz and his dedicated staff for putting on this very important and now annual summit where conservatives, that's right, I'm excited to already be here next year, where conservatives can come together and forge our faith and our values, which makes each of us stronger. And I'm proud to say Citizens United is celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. And we're blessed, thank you very much. And we're blessed to count Bob as one of our good friends. Bob is one of the top conservative leaders in our nation, and when he speaks about the future of the conservative movement, people around the country listen. Iowans should be proud that they have a leader like Bob Vanderplatz, fighting for all of our shared values. And I know that our two organizations are just getting to know each other. I hope you enjoyed City Upon a Hill earlier today, a film I made with Newt Gingrich. And last year, you had, at this conference, you had the opportunity to see our film, The Gift of Life, hosted by Mike Huckabee. We made this movie to bring you the inspiring stories of those affected by the scourge of abortion, as well as the leaders on the front lines fighting for the sanctity of life each and every day. From the moment of conception, it's a baby. It's a life. And Citizens United, and Citizens United will continue to fight for the rights of the unborn, and we will never waver. I believe that we are actually winning this battle because we are convincing younger generations that abortion is not the answer the left tells you it is. Bob's earlier comments about the Gift of Life's impact on Governor Perry's pro-life policies are a prime example of what our films can do. They have impact. They can change the hearts and minds for the better. Citizens United prides itself on fighting on the front lines of the culture war against the left, and I can guarantee you that's not going to change. Now, I'd like to talk to you today about what's happening in our nation's capital. It has to do with many of the people that we continue to send to Congress year after year. People wonder why America is in decline and why Washington is so broken. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's because of the folks we're sending to Washington to run our government. It's not only the Democrats, but the Republicans as well. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump, as he just got here, he would lose his voice firing all of those that really need to be fired. So, after the landslide election of 2010, and I think a lot of you will agree with me, that election put the Republicans back into control of the House of Representatives. and new members were elected that ran as true conservatives, as constitutional conservatives. I personally was incredibly optimistic. I was ready to work on new, bold ideas and policies with these hungry conservatives to save our country from the scourge of Barack Obama. I was ready to take on the failing status quo of Washington. I was ready for real leadership and real change. My team and I are sick and tired of leaders who are happy to come to Washington to manage the decay. Why? Because I know a lot of you are like Ronald Reagan, and we believe in American exceptionalism. And I know with true principled conservatives leading America, we can be that shining city on a hill again, the beacon of hope and freedom that all of us here believe in. But this is largely up to you and me and conservatives around the country, because Washington tends to change people overnight who are not steadfast in their beliefs. And sadly, that's what's happened to so many of these so-called conservatives who were elected in 2010. And this taught me a valuable lesson. Not everyone has the strength to stand up to the failed Washington establishment. Not everyone is willing to fight for their core conservative principles. And that's why I'm so grateful for true conservatives in the U.S. Senate like Ted Cruz, who you just heard from, and Senator Rand Paul and Mike Lee, and in the House, leaders like Jim Jordan, Matt Salmon, and your very own Steve King. So how do we really get America back on the road to economic recovery, a strong national defense, as well as rebuilding our moral fabric? Send more courageous conservatives to Congress. It's hard enough to fight President Obama and the left each and every day, but we must also stop Republicans from supporting busted budgets and countless debt ceiling increases and the plan to reward illegal behavior when it comes to immigration reform. Those Republicans who reside in this rudderless wing of the party and who vote with them are no conservatives. Their decisions are made free of principle, with the deciding factor always on how they can cling on to their power. That's how America has gotten to where she is. Unsustainable debts, high unemployment, a stagnant economy, and members of Congress and their staffs exempting themselves from Obamacare. That's the problem, not the solution. Right now, and I know you've been hearing this, but right now Congress has a real opportunity to send a message to the conservative movement as well as all Americans with a call to defund Obamacare. Senator Mike Lee was right on when he said, defund it or you own it. If you fund it, you're for it. And despite what the Washington insiders will tell you, it is possible to defund Obamacare. No spending is ever truly on autopilot as Congress actually controls the purse strings. What Senator Lee is suggesting is that Congress fund all aspects of the government except Obamacare. Everything in the budget is negotiable, but Obamacare would become the line in the sand Republicans must not cross. I think one of the more important conservative measures in Washington today is one that most of you haven't heard about. There are two conservative leaders in the House, Ron DeSantis from Florida and Matt Salmon of Arizona, who have brought forth a resolution that would strike a serious blow against Washington's ruling class mentality. A constitutional amendment forcing Congress, get this, to abide by the very laws it imposes on us. Working overtime to exempt themselves and their staffs from Obamacare, this amendment couldn't come at a more opportune time. So tell your members to support this overdue amendment. Now, let me close with the fight within our own party on immigration. Conservatives have always been very clear. We need to actually build a border fence and enforce the existing immigration laws before there can be any agreement on so-called comprehensive immigration reform. The left, Obama and his leftists ignore this because it doesn't allow the elites in Washington and on Wall Street to achieve their long-time goal of amnesty without restraints. I think it would come as a surprise to millions of Americans just how little of the border fence has actually been built. Comprehensive immigration reform starts with securing the border first. You and I both know, with the growing terrorist threat lurking throughout the world, we cannot afford to have such a porous border. So as you can see, America is at a crossroads, and the conservative movement offers a clear alternative to the failed status quo in Washington. So, whether it's the failed leadership of Barack Obama or John Boehner, we must hold our leaders accountable. I want to leave you with the wisdom of the great Jack Kemp. And I think that we all can agree on. Jack Kemp and Ronald Reagan's vision of hope, growth, and opportunity for all future generations. Friends, that's something we all must strive for. Thank you all very much.